Alright, today on One Man's Trash, we are taking a look at the carburetor on the 1967 Trail 90. This thing is not ran in probably 25 years, so it's going to be pretty dirty. I've never taken one of these apart, but it's a carburetor. How hard can it be, right? It looks pretty clean. This is the seat that the needle goes down into, and that's where the fuel will come in to the bowl. Okay. So I want to make sure that's clean so the fuel can get in, which it is. Fuel's getting through it. But I also want to make sure that this, when it's down in there, stops the fuel from coming in the bowl. And there's usually a little, on the needle, there's a little spring. It's hard to see, but that should move up and down. What I like to do is make sure that if I'm pressing the needle into the seat, nothing will go through. And it works. This is one of the jets. It appears as though it only has one jet. Usually you have an idle jet and a main jet. This one looks like it just has a fixed hole for the idle jet. It doesn't have an actual removable jet. Everything is amazingly clean. I'm really surprised. I guess I'm lucky that they didn't leave fuel in it. Because if there was fuel left in here for 25 years, this would be a mess. Sometimes you need to make sure these floats will actually float. I don't see any breaks in this one, so I'm going to assume it's not leaking, but if it's got a hole in it or a crack, then obviously it'll just fill with fuel and it won't float up and stop the fuel. Feel there's a spring on that one, I can more hear it, so it's probably the fuel adjustment. So what I'm going to do is turn it till it's closed. I'm going to count how many turns so I can set it back to the same spot. So half, 1, half, 2, which is about right. Usually a carburetor, the fuel mixture screw is 2.5, so this one's set at 2. See the little spring in there I was talking about. Okay, so I'm going to go back in to where it bottoms out. You never turn these things hard, the fuel mixture screw, just where it stops turning, where it's just a little bit of pressure. And then I back it out two turns where it was. Half, 1, half, 2. This one is going to be idle. This is choke, you can see that. Choke does exactly what it sounds like. It chokes off all the air to let it just get fuel only. So when it's cold, these old motors, these old carburetor motors, they're very inefficient when they're cold, so they want a lot of fuel. And as they warm up, you can let it get more air and that'll run more efficiently. This looks pretty good. I am incredibly surprised at how nice this looks. Alright, let me button this thing back up. Another way you can make sure your needle and seat is working and your float is doing its job is you hook into the fuel inlet, put some air into it, and then you literally just flip it upside down, and you should be able to hear the air coming in when it's right side up and stop when it's upside down. That means your float and your needle and seat are all working properly. There's that one is. Alright, put this back together and reinstall it once I find the proper bolt to replace this antique wood screw that is not supposed to be there. Alright, so when I was putting this thing back together, I was putting the slide in, I noticed that when I twist the throttle, it just stays there. It moves, but it does not auto-return, which it should because there's a spring there. So what I'm going to attempt to do is see if I can get inside here and spray some lubricant down this throttle cable, see if it'll break loose. It's just friction keeping it from wanting to auto return.